Visions on. Good evening, love. Good evening, everybody. This evening, we have decided to come together for a teas and chats and to chat about what we resist. What we resist persists. So resistance, like that, like feeling that because you're like, oh, or I'm out of here, want to run away, want to avoid it, I want to hide away. All that is kind of resistance. And so we're going to speak about why resistance happens, why actually resisting things just leads us back to what we're trying to avoid or resist. It just gives us more of the same thing, and what we can do to counteract it and reclaim our power, regain our power, and stand in that power. I'm
stand in our power, baby. Today I don't feel very powerful. This cup says it all. I'm not going to swear, but yeah.
You're fresh out of
Yeah, no, it was one of those days. I was like, oh my God, lots of resistance going on in my day today. Lots of resistance, and me stepping back and going, take a deep breath, take a deep breath. And it persisted as well. So what you resist does persist. Yeah, definitely. Carl Jung, responsible for that statement seemingly. So what does he mean?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's Jungian. Seemingly, anyway, on my research. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, I didn't know that. Or the concept around it, right? Because Carl Jung he's really one of the originals around the collective consciousness. And if you think about resistance is energy. And energy, yeah, it's all energy, really, isn't it? So resistance like a force. So if you're forcing against something, you're creating conflict, like you're creating opposing energies. That's not going to feel right inside. Like it's going to feel like if you want to do more of the resisting, right?
It's like the energy of lack. Like when we resist, we are coming from an energy of lack. And like, like it could in your mind make sense to resist something, especially if it's something that's harmful or toxic, to resist it, but you actually are creating more of the same. Like it's like the polarity of resistance then is like accepting or surrendering or embracing what is happening. But that doesn't mean, like, if it's a negative thing, that doesn't mean that you like embrace the negative thing. It's just like embrace the force and
the experience.
Yeah.
And I love that, because it's like the embrace the experience, because the experience is in the experience, you are the experiencer. And when you do that, you take a powerful standpoint to see all of it. Like Aoife said, the law of duality, where there's resistance, there's acceptance. And where there's almost powerlessness or fear or pain, there has to be the opposite there as well. And when you're having an experience and you're the experiencer, you can see all the variables, all the different alternatives, all the infinite possibilities that experience is about. And in that, you're in your power. And then you have the choice to say, well, everything really. You have the choice to say how it unfolds, but every single experience has a lesson for us. It's back to the lesson. But if we're resisting, we can't see that, because when we're in fear and lack, our system literally shuts down into survival, and we don't have the capacity to extract, to embrace and extract the opportunities that lies within the resistance or the tension that's triggering the want to resist.
Yeah. And it's like, That's exactly it. The tension is the resistance, isn't it? Really, like it's kind of like, right, okay, there's a tension here. I'm resisting something. What do I need to learn from this? Because there wouldn't be tension without like that message for growth, really. Like it's kind of like one of my favorite analogies. Abraham Hicks, like I love Abraham Hicks. Um, puts it brilliantly, and it's kind of like, in a boat and you're paddling downstream. If you turn to paddle upstream, you don't get anywhere. I've done it so many times in my kayak, and so I know, like, I mean, it takes forever to get back upstream because you're resisting the current, you're resisting the flow. So paddle downstream, go with the flow. Like surrendering doesn't mean you're surrendering to something that like wrong. It just means you're surrendering to the energy, because the resistance usually creates like a heavy energy that you want to just like, it's almost like that, when two magnets come together, like they draw together, but like sometimes when you flip it at the back, they push apart. So it's kind of like, it's like you just want to surrender to the energy so it doesn't empower, isn't it? Or, I'm
Yeah.
kind of like, did I make sense there?
So it doesn't empower. Is that what you said at the end?
Yeah, that energy of like that when you're resisting, you're creating an energy of lack, or you're creating like almost like an energy that creates, that's creating more of the same, but it's like a fight. It's like a, you know
Yeah.
whereas if you
Two opposing
surrender, you're releasing that energy, you're relinquishing, you're going with the flow, you're letting yourself step into flow. So it doesn't feel like tension. When we surrender to the tension. There is no more tension when we surrender.
Yeah, it's like the allowing of the tension to be there. Because when there's resistance, there's fight. And it goes back to, we're just unpacking this, guys, as we're
Yeah,
like,
clearly.
that's, but it's
Clearly.
like there's a fight, right? Which is the resistance, where you can't be in your power. You can't see the opportunity for growth. And when two opposing forces come together, there's there's that tension, but
Mm.
it's psychological tension, as opposed to what the natural tension is meant to be, like a creative tension.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's not good tension. It's
No. And that's the conflict. The conflict is the psychological tension, because all tension is needed to grow, but we don't understand that. So when we feel the tension, we resist it, and that becomes psychological tension. There you go.
Yeah, yeah. Talking. Yeah, it's kind of um, yeah, like what kind of, like, have you an example? Like,
Like what's coming to me there is your inner being. You came into this body to have experiences so that you could grow and expand, and your inner being is always, that's why we have desires. Your inner being is always looking for that growth.
mm,
So in order to have that growth, you must have an experience to move from where you're currently at to where you want to go. And because there's a resistance, if a person resists the experience that's uncomfortable, like rejection, say,
mm,
um and they resist that, there's no growth. So there's this powerful force of your inner being wanting to expand and wanting you to better yourself. And then there's this, your resistance not to look at what's there for you in order to grow. And that's the tension, that's the psychological tension. And that literally comes from when we don't understand ourselves as higher beings, when we don't understand that we do have an inner being, like grappling for us to express ourselves in like that, like pure self-expression and self-love, when we're unaware that there's actually an aspect of us that exists like that, right?
mm,
Because we're predominantly led to believe that we're just mind and body.
mm.
And so how can, it makes complete sense why somebody would resist. Because if all you see yourself as mind and body, and there's this inner being like bursting for you to grow and gives you experiences that are uncomfortable, and you're unaware of the whole dynamics and processes that are going on, it's scary. It's scary to have that tension and not know what to do with it, not have been shown or taught what to do with it. So what do we do with anything that's unfamiliar?
Mm.
We will resist it
Yeah,
because
we resist and we almost run away from it. It's like it's a scary prospect, but I suppose the resistance is like it's counterproductive. Like when we surrender, we're creating, it's again comes down to the frequency and the energy and the vibration that we emit. It's like, if we're resisting something, then we're in that energy of like not wanting and lack, and it's not.
uncertainty, fear,
Pardon?
worry. It's that uncertainty, fear,
Yeah,
worry.
fear, worry, all the low level energies again.
Yeah.
Whereas if we're in the energy of like surrender and acceptance and like embrace there is like embrace whatever it is that's going on, if it's even if it's conflict. Like obviously when we're resisting something that we don't want, or that, that we're like,
Don't
yeah,
know.
we're not accepting, we don't want to accept. So when we let go, it's just like you're not feeding into that energy. It's like flowing down the stream. When you're in your boat and you're going downstream, it's just like this, the water has you're floating down the stream. It's so easy. Whereas
Yeah,
if
and
you
there
turn
may
around
be,
in your boat and you're paddling like crazy and you're getting nowhere,
I love that, Aoife, the way you say, we turn and go downstream and it's easy and we're paddling away. But even when we turn downstream, right, there can be obstacles, there can be bumps, there can be currents. It
Yeah.
can still have its like creative tension that can
Mm.
still be there. But now you're in a dance with it.
Yeah.
Now you're orientated to understanding that that's the nature of life.
Yeah, and
So
it's like the ebbs and flows. You're
yeah,
bobbing in and out of it. You're like you're almost at one with it. It's like, oh, like an obstacle course. Like you're all the logs bobbing up along the water, and you're just kind of, you know, just directing yourself, like you said, orientation, like you're redirecting yourself, I suppose. Like you're kind of going, oh well, turn this way and I'll turn that way, and you're going with the flow. It is like going with the
uh,
flow.
yeah, when we know. So
Mm.
what's massively coming out there for me, it's popped into my mind twice, is that, so what do people do if they realize, okay, I resist basically all discomfort, internal discomfort in me, or I resist when people reject me, or I resist difficult circumstance because I don't know what to do with it. So what's coming there to me is that, okay, what can people do? Where can people start? And for me, what's popping up is to realize that you are a powerful energetic force. We all are energetic forces, but that the mind and body are the lower vibrational forces, and that your inner being is of a higher vibrational force. It's way greater than any of that resistance or any of that turmoil or any of that rejection. So for me, the first thing, and I think even going back to the start of my journey, was realizing that I am more powerful than those resistance. I am more powerful than those difficult experiences. I'm more powerful than even my mind and body. And if I can realize that I am a soul, I am an energetic being, then I can find somewhere to begin my journey of taking back my power. I can
Mm.
have a tangible, because it's not just an intangible airy fairy concept that we are energy. It's
Mm.
scientifically proven now. It's like
Mm.
your quantum physics that they study, scientists now know that they study an atom, they study a cell, and they go smaller and smaller, like those, what you might call those Russian dolls.
Mm.
Take them out and they get smaller and smaller and smaller. And scientists now know that they've done that, and all they're left with vast nothingness, like
Mm.
just pure, as Carl Jung started off like the collective consciousness. It's a pure energy source that you came from, that you leave into, that is still you, but it's just the illusion of the mind and body. So it's
Yeah.
reconnecting into that truth. And it's beautiful because it's science. And knowing that you are that powerful source, and that all the rest is just there as an experience and a lesson for you to grow bigger and
And I
brighter.
think, like, you know, when you are on that frequency, when you are that higher energy, when you're surrendering, embracing, accepting all the lessons, all the growth, all the learning, you're not suffering. Like, resistance leads to suffering, because it's like, it really is that feeling of, like, you know, walking up a mountain and an avalanche hits you and you're 10 steps back. Do you know that kind of, whereas when you're in the higher frequency of energy, or the higher, like the energy of love, the energy of acceptance, the energy of like growth, and even excitement to learn, or to, you know, whatever, like when you're in that energy, like things are, you're like, it's the law of attraction, like, you know, synchronicity happens, and there's solutions for everything, and things don't feel like a problem. When we resist, it's more problem orientated, it's more, you know. So it's kind of like knowing, like just believing that we are this higher energy, and we, you know, to resist is just kind of stepping away from that, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. And that concludes our beautiful session, I think.
Oh,
Um,
oh yeah. God, like the time just goes so quickly.
I know. When you're just, that is it. We're just being our inner being. Like, it is just that's speaking, and that's just, it's timeless and boundless. It just,
Yeah.
you
Well, I
know,
suppose these kind of things you could talk forever about, couldn't you?
yeah. And when it's the kind of things that it's your truth, it's our true nature.
Mm.
It's like exciting.
Yeah. All
Okay.
right. Well, am I still, I wonder.
Have you filled back up on all those for tomorrow?
No, I'm still feeling that way. And it's nice. I'm not resisting it. It's so
Yeah,
good. You know, sometimes you just have to feel that way.
yeah, totally. Just going with the flow and letting it all.
Going with the flow.
Oh,
Yeah. So what we resist persists.
okay. Till
What we
next,
surrender to.
what we surrender to creates beauty and bliss.
Bliss. Yeah, I love it.